three top 15 wins. You go 3-1 in that stretch. You go 3-1. You go 3-1 in that stretch. Do you feel like things are starting to finally click with your team?
Well, you hope so. We won some pretty good bouts. I think from this point forward, with 4 dual meets left, you just try to position yourself better, right? I mean, it takes some real energy, some real effort to position yourself better. I mean, we got guys ranked 20th. You need to beat someone. You need to move yourself a little further. You go into, and so I think we have that opportunity in probably all 10 weight classes. So teams come together. We all know dual meets is different than tournament scoring. And so that's the next thing I need to really start seeing is that we position ourselves a little better as we go down the stretch in the Big 12 tournament and the national tournament.
I know you said yesterday on your radio show, beginning of the year, the goal for Connor was not to get pinned or give up a major decision.
Yeah, I was stressed. Yeah.
Well, is he reached?
I forgot to say that. It's probably not I hope he didn't hear that. No.
Is he reaching that?
A little bit. That is true. Just there wasn't a lot of expectation there.
Right.
And it's been surprising to see how athletic he's been. He is an athlete. You don't see it when you're on. I didn't see it when he was on the second, third team as much as I've seen it right now. And so for that reason, he's given us some hope. Yeah, I would like to see him shoot. Love for him to shoot and score. But I think we need to respect that he doesn't give up bonus. He's been pretty competitive in every match. And let's just try to dig out a takedown somewhere. What can they do for you in the stretch? Do some pretty good things. I think he would have been in both of those matches or tied if he had a takedown. So he's definitely been a pleasant surprise for all of us. And that's not in a negative way. It's in a very highly positive, respectful way.
Dayton said he was inspired by the way his teammates wrestled against Michigan and Missouri. But you don't need Dayton as inspired as much. He inspires himself. But how good can what Serber did last weekend? How can that rub off on the other guys?
Well, it needs to rub off on him. He's somewhere in the 20s, isn't he?
Was 19 as
19,
Sunday.
yeah. So it needs to rub off on him. You got to see yourself there. It's a good start. And I think for teams that are really consistent and really, when you want to really see improvement, you see some consistent competition from them. We need to fire back and light it up this week as well if we can. That's what's going to do a lot for you.
A few weeks ago.
And it's tough. It's a tough weekend. Competitive, challenging. Go ahead.
A few weeks ago, looking back on Carter's performance and now this past weekend, have your expectations for how he were to perform throughout the course of the season, have they changed because of his performance increasing this year or increasing over the last few weekends?
I mean, I had a lot higher expectations of where he'd be right now. I mean, from my standpoint for the season, I went pretty high. I don't think. I think he's met some things, some expectations as himself, especially the last 4 or 5 matches, right? Is he last 5 or 4? 5, yeah. Last 5 matches, he's met some of his own expectations, and that's bigger than trying to impress me. Do it yourself. This is for you, and so for him, I think it's another tough weekend, and I don't know. You just think about the 7 minutes of competition. About last week he wrestled in about at the ballpark. I thought he wrestled 5 minutes and let up on 2. You know, he went 6.5 this weekend. You know, gave up a takedown knowing that he can. You know, but you fight for those points. You don't give them up. Your 3 was way harder than his 2. You know, it was hard to get, hard ride, a hard reversal, scramble reversal that took 30, 40 seconds. We don't just give them something, you know, points on the board when we had to bust our ass to get our 3.
What's been the biggest difference about him in the room lately? He looks to be wrestling a lot, and not just better, but more confident in himself.
Yeah, you know, he's been a pretty consistent. I mean, I think even since he was a kid, pretty consistent in the room. I mean, I think so for the most part. That's not a lot of times. That's not where the problems lies. You know, it just kind of lies between the ears and continue to develop. And I guess, you know, you push these kids a little bit harder because they you know, a year and a half ago he was coming from high school, you know, so he's wrestled without a redshirt year, didn't take a redshirt year, and so you're asking a little bit more than maybe the next guy that's you know, that doesn't have the issues, doesn't have the problem. Carter Young's going to get better and better. Yeah.
In the last 4 duels, how far can Reese get? Because you're talking about getting him into a position tournament-wise where he's in a position where he can move up the ladder. What's he need to do?
Reese?
Yeah.
25. You know, we have an issue with the number of matches.
Yeah.
Getting a ranking. Of course, he hasn't won his last 2 matches, so that doesn't get you in the rankings. I would say for him to get an automatic bid is probably not possible unless he really. I mean, he's got some guys he could beat that could get him one, right? There's one in Iowa City, you know. There's, I think, this week.
Easier said than done.
I'm just saying, you know, right? But this weekend he can help himself, right? But I still don't know if he's going to have enough matches. So more than likely, our 125-pound class is pretty good in the conference. We looked at it the other day, and we think 6 guys will qualify the weight class. And so he's got to take one of those.
Right.
Earlier in the year, you weren't sure where Caden Gefeller was going to wrestle at weight-wise. What have you kind of thought of his year so far?
Well, you know, I really didn't feel like either one of. I mean, I really felt like there was a chance for both of those guys to go down. I think in the end, as we saw them getting a little thicker in the weight room, and we had to go through a period of time with Wyatt. I think that the adjustment wasn't easy. I think we're starting to see that adjustment a little easier. And ultimately, it's something they got to want to do, and neither one of them wanted to do it. So,
Coach, you talked last week about the environment in Old Gallagher,
Yeah.
good environment this weekend. Just kind of talk about what that was like in that crowd.
yeah, wonderful. You know, it was good. I mean, you know, it was tight matches. It was. You know, you look at some of those matches in 4-2, 3-1, whatever, but they were a lot more than just standing around. I mean, you know, there was a lot of scrambles that got stalemated in both ways. We literally kind of outperformed them on top in the critical matches. And, you know, we were the one that was getting right in time and winning the close bouts that you needed to win the dual meet. But the crowd was awesome. Yeah, really good. And played a major role in the outcome, I think.
Coach, Coach, a few months ago, I'm sorry. A few months ago, you talked about how you're not preparing your guys for bonus points yet because you're not there. Sunday, you talked a little bit more about how you want your guys to get bonus points. You want your guys to get bonus points. Do you feel like you're kind of at that point where you guys are finally ready to do that?
You'd like to see some of them, right? In every dual meet, you want to see a few bonus points. You know, bonus points are you know, a pin in tournaments, two extra points for your team. You know, you can win 4 matches in the consolations. This is how goofy our scoring is. You can win 4 matches in the consolations by decision and score 2 points. You know, so bonus points do make a difference. You know, a lot of teams, you know, you look at some teams and they have 2 or 3 All-Americans, and somebody might have 1 All-American, and he's got 3 falls. One All-American outperformed the 3 low All-Americans. So anyway, you just always are looking for bonus points. And I don't know how many times, you know, in my 31 years of coaching, at the end of the season, you know, I'm preaching it. We've got to have it. We got to do it. You're not going to win. You're not going to win. We're probably not in a position to win anything, but we're in a position to score some points. We're in a position to maybe get something that we thought we couldn't get at the beginning. And so for that reason, yeah, it's going to take a few guys getting bonus points and stretching themselves and stretching their mind. And go ahead.
Coach, you wrestled Big 12 champs this weekend, or last year's Big 12 champs this weekend, Iowa State a couple weeks ago. Where do you feel like you guys stack up as you get?
That's the 2 teams to beat. They're by far, yeah. I mean, we match up. If we did the rankings and the seedings for the Big 12, those are the 2 teams to beat. Iowa State and Missouri. They stack up really well, and I think they have pretty good balance at every weight. You know, and I have an idea of how we got to do it to win. And you do it on the front side of that bracket, you know, and that's if we're going to have any kind of, you know, don't really want to get into the Big 12 now, but we could help ourselves position ourselves a little better for that tournament in the next few Big 12 matches. We got Iowa, our next 3, 3 of our 4 Big 12 matches.
Let's see. OU, South Dakota.
No, 2 of the 4.
2 of the 4. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. You know, everybody's going to look at Iowa just because of who they are,
yeah,
and the history of that rivalry. And then Stanford's kind of fun to get them in on Super Bowl Sunday. But the South Dakota and the OU, those are critical matches. At this
big meets. They're big meets. They're competitive. You know, both the Dakotas have gotten a lot better in the last few years. I think North Dakota finished second to us in the scuffle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, they're both good competitors. I mean, they're you know, we've said this for a long time, and it's even getting more so true, is there's a lot more wrestlers than there are scholarships. There's a lot of wrestlers, and not enough scholarships, and that's a fact. You know, we deserve more schools to wrestle. I saw what you wrote. You know, that's exactly right.
You gonna make it back on Saturday for Sam at Full Sail?
Yeah, we're gonna fly up private South Dakota and fly right back. We'll go on Thursday, and then right after the match we'll be home. We'll be home on Sunday morning. Maybe it might be still Friday night when we get home. Yeah.
Coach, forgive me if I've asked this before.
We don't get to do that often.
But about the extra COVID year of eligibility, and with wrestling having Olympic red shirts as well, how does that affect maybe the mentality and just the preparation of an 18-year-old who might have the potential to wrestle a 24 to 25-year-old, which is something that does happen pretty common in the sport?
Yeah, it's a big disadvantage. Yeah, big disadvantage. You know, not 21 to 25. No, it's not. 22. Yeah, but 18. Yeah. Yeah. You know, my views on all that. Boy, we've made some mistakes on that.
How so?
Oh, we should never give another year. What do we mean? They got to wrestle. Give it to the Ivy Leagues. You know, they didn't get to wrestle. You know, but we got to wrestle the national tournament. And then the year before, the guys didn't get to go to the NCAA championship, but yet they didn't get a year. Really? Yeah. Should never you know. Just made it real simple and said if your sport has an NCAA and Big 12 and NCAA championship, we had a season that year too, right? Wrestled some dual meets. So anyway, I think maybe being cautious, like the possibility of the whole season shutting down, maybe again. I don't know.
When do you see?
But it's different. Yeah, you're seeing some things that just uncommon in college wrestling. Maybe uncommon in every sport, not just us.
It is every sport.
I don't know if they really see the physical ability of a 25-year-old wrestling an 18-year-old, or on the football field or in the basketball. I'm sure they see it. Yeah, I see it.
That kind of leads into one of my questions that obviously we haven't really seen it much with your lineup this year, but in a hypothetical, would that impact how you adjust your lineup accordingly? Say, because you have a lot of veterans here and a few second, third year guys.
Yeah, it just first off, COVID did not help us. Ultimately, you know, I don't think it did. You know, not a whole. I mean, it helped everyone, but I think that we you know. We had some guys that was ready to be done. Llewellyn, you know, we don't know what the future holds. You know, how many more years with this? 2 more years or 3 more years? Yeah, I think we got 3 more years.
What I was about to ask you is, when do you think we'll see the end of that disparity?
Well, it's that true freshman, right? It's that 2018 recruit or 2019 recruit. Yeah. Yeah, it's still, yeah, so, excuse me, it was 2000, COVID year, that was 19 or 20.
20.
Yeah.
Kids that came in fall.
Kids
Yeah,
came in
fall of
fall
2020, right?
Fall 19.
Yeah.
If you were here, you got
Fall of
an
20
extra
for
year.
wrestling.
Oh,
So
fall
we've still
20
got
for
some years
wrestling,
left. Yeah, to weed it out. And you know, it was a challenge on. It still is a challenge. Remember, you know, that all those extra guys for 1 year
Didn't count, and then they
didn't count.
counted.
and then you had to count them.
That messes with scholarships.
Yeah, still is. It's a battle. Keep at 9.9 and you know, everybody's saying you got to go out, you got to go get this and that. And, well, if you had a young team, which we did when that happened, you've got a lot of guys still around, you know, and losing a few of them at a time. Can't just take their scholarship, you know. It's not. Can't do it.
Did you have to train or change anything about your training for your freshmen and sophomores to get their bodies developed more?
Not really. No issues there.
Any other questions? I don't know if you've given much thought, but given, you know, the backdoor high schools you have, Edmond North, Edmond Memorial, Bixby, Stillwater, you know, move-ins out of state, in-state for siblings. I mean, how have you seen it affect the sport of high school wrestling over the years?
Well, I don't think it's. Well, I think when you look at our state, which I, you know, have an opportunity to be a little bit more involved in seeing it, you know, and so. I'd say there's a lot of guys that can wrestle, a lot more guys right now that can wrestle Division I. You know, I thought for a few years there, we were watching maybe 3 kids a year can come out and wrestle Division I. I think we're seeing a lot more right now.
So you think move-ins out of state helps?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not, you know, kind of know my son's career, you know, what I've seen. He's got a good coach. He's gotten a lot better.
Coach, do you have a favorite Valentine's Day memory? Valentine's Day is right around the corner after the Stanford duel. Do you have one?
Can't say I do. I think I gave my wife something.
Do you ever wrestle on Valentine's Day?
Yeah, we've wrestled on. Yeah. don't know if I have, but we've wrestled on it. Yeah.
Does that change? You ever notice any changes in your wrestlers at all? Anything there?
I hope
Sweetheart
not.
matches.
Yeah. I hope they're not too soft. That's kind of a soft day, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Everybody's hugging.
I think it's soft.
Yeah. So, all right, guys.